What if you could gain 4 to 6 extra hours every single day without feeling tired, without coffee, and without harming your health? It sounds impossible, right? But one man claimed he did exactly that. For more than 20 years, he said he lived on just 4 hours of sleep a night, following a strict system known as polyphasic sleep. He believed it made him sharper, more productive, and even healthier. His story spread through online forums and productivity blogs like wildfire. To some, he was proof that humans could hack sleep, that with enough discipline, we could break free from our biological limits. To others, he was a ticking time bomb, a case study in self-experimentation gone too far. So, who is this man? What exactly did he do? And what does modern science say about this kind of radical lifestyle? In this story, we'll explore the origins of polyphasic sleep and why it fascinates so many, the man's personal routine and the claims he made, what neuroscience and sleep research reveal about the dangers and tiny possible advantages of cutting your sleep short, and finally, how it all ended. The story begins in the early 2000s, during the rise of the life optimization era. Productivity blogs, self-experiments, and the idea of hacking your biology were booming. Some people fasted for days to sharpen their focus, others tracked every heartbeat to master their bodies, and one man decided to conquer sleep itself. His name isn't widely known, let's call him Michael. He was a software engineer and a firm believer that time was life's most valuable currency. While most people spent a third of their lives asleep, Michael saw those hours as wasted potential. He wanted to reclaim them. After discovering the concept of polyphasic sleep, he began experimenting. Instead of sleeping in one long 7-8-hour stretch, he divided his rest into short naps spread throughout the day. He read about Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, and even Winston Churchill, all rumored to have thrived on minimal sleep, though those claims are more myth than fact. Still, the idea fascinated him. The experiment begins. Michael started small. At first, he tried the everyman schedule, sleeping 3 hours at night and taking 3 20-minute naps throughout the day. After a few brutal weeks, his body adapted. Or so he believed. He claimed his dreams became more vivid, his focus more intense, and his days stretched endlessly. He woke before sunrise, wrote code, learned languages, and exercised all before most people even opened their eyes. In his blog posts and interviews, Michael insisted he felt more alive than ever. He wrote things like, "I don't feel tired anymore. It's as if my brain finally realized how to use sleep efficiently." To his followers, he was a pioneer, living proof that the human body could be retrained. But behind the fascinating story, scientists and sleep researchers began asking a different question. Was he truly thriving or just running on borrowed energy? Before we go deeper into Michael's story, we need to understand what exactly polyphasic sleep is and why so many people get drawn into it. In simple terms, polyphasic sleep means breaking your sleep into multiple shorter segments throughout the day, rather than one long block at night, known as monophasic sleep. It's like slicing a full night's rest into small, carefully timed naps. The different sleep hack models. There are several popular versions of the idea, each promising more waking hours. Biphasic, a short nap in the afternoon plus a shorter main sleep at night. Everyman, 3 to 4 hours of core sleep, then several 20-minute naps during the day. Uberman, 6 20-minute naps spread evenly every 4 hours, totaling just 2 hours of sleep per day. Dimaction, an extreme version with 4 30-minute naps, also only 2 hours total. Advocates say that if you distribute naps evenly, your body will eventually adapt, entering REM, the dream stage, almost immediately each time, supposedly giving you the benefits of deep rest in a fraction of the time. And that promise is powerful. Imagine more time to create, to learn, to work, without ever feeling tired. No more wasted mornings. No more drowsy evenings. Just pure, optimized life. The mythic inspirations. Part of polyphasic sleep's allure comes from its legends. People often claim geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, or Thomas Edison slept just a few hours a day and achieved greatness. It's a romantic story, the idea that extraordinary minds simply need less rest. But historians and biographers disagree. There's little real evidence any of them lived that way consistently. Most of those tales are either exaggerations or complete myths. Still, the dream persists. For someone like Michael, driven, analytical, and hungry for time, polyphasic sleep sounded like a perfect deal. Why wouldn't you want to trade a third of your life in bed for a life spent building, learning, and creating? But as we'll see next, biology doesn't like to be hacked. And even the most disciplined schedule can't rewrite millions of years of evolution. For the first few months, Michael felt unstoppable. He woke up at 3 a.m. with fresh ideas and a clear head. He'd write code for hours, take a brief nap, then jump right back into work. His online followers admired his discipline and flooded his blog with questions. How do you stay focused? Do you really never feel sleepy? Is this the secret to productivity? Michael's responses were confident, almost evangelical. He claimed he had retrained his brain to enter REM sleep instantly, skipping the long ramp-up that normally takes 60 to 90 minutes in a traditional sleep cycle. In his words, once your body learns that sleep time is precious, it adapts. It gives you what you need faster. He logged everything meticulously: nap times, dream quality, mood levels, and work output. Charts and spreadsheets filled his blog, showing his hours of wakefulness compared to a typical person's. He called it sleep efficiency. And for a while, it truly looked like he had found something extraordinary. The productivity mirage. Friends described him as more alert, sharper, and strangely calm. He boasted about finishing projects ahead of schedule and using his extra hours for hobbies, piano, reading, even volunteering. But there were small red flags. He admitted occasional memory lapses, like forgetting conversations or losing track of tasks. Sometimes, during late-night work sessions, he'd feel a faint buzzing in his head, a kind of static he couldn't shake off. He brushed it off as adjustment. When readers asked if the lifestyle was safe, he laughed. "I'm healthier than ever. I get blood tests. I work out. I eat clean. Sleep is just outdated." His followers cheered him on. The story of the man who slept 4 hours a night spread fast across forums and podcasts. People began copying his schedule, posting their own polyphasic diaries. Some lasted a few weeks, others burned out after days. But Michael remained the symbol, proof that it was possible. At least, that's how it seemed on the surface. Because behind every self-experiment lies the same question. Is feeling good the same as being healthy? And as researchers started looking closer, the science began telling a very different story. What science says about sleep and why cutting it short backfires. For centuries, sleep was treated as a kind of mystery, a biological inconvenience. Something we had to do, but didn't fully understand. Only in the past few decades has science started to uncover just how vital it really is, not just for rest, but for survival. When researchers examine people who sleep less than the recommended 7 to 8 hours a night, the results are alarmingly consistent. Cognitive decline, slower reaction times, weaker immune systems, hormonal imbalances, and increased risk of heart disease and diabetes. And that's not even counting the silent cost, the erosion of memory, focus, and emotional stability. The architecture of sleep. Every night, your brain moves through a carefully balanced rhythm of stages. Light sleep, where the body begins to relax. Deep, slow-wave sleep, when the brain cleans out toxins and repairs cells. REM sleep, when memories consolidate and creativity spikes. These stages form 90-minute cycles that repeat 4 to 6 times per night. Cut your total sleep time, and you cut those cycles short. You don't just lose hours, you lose entire functions your body depends on. Why short naps can't replace the real thing. Polyphasic sleep enthusiasts argue that multiple short naps can give the same benefits, but research disagrees. While it's true that the body can adapt to some degree, it never fully replicates the balance of REM and deep sleep found in a normal cycle. Naps might restore alertness temporarily, but they rarely allow the brain to reach the restorative depths it needs. One famous NASA study found that a 26-minute nap improved pilot performance by 34%, but that's in addition to a normal sleep schedule, not instead of it. Long-term restriction, on the other hand, shows cumulative damage. People feel like they're functioning fine after chronic sleep loss, yet cognitive tests show they're severely impaired. That disconnect is the most dangerous part. As neuroscientist Matthew Walker famously put it, "The shorter your sleep, the shorter your life." The deception of adaptation. Michael believed he had adapted, but what really happened was more subtle. His body learned to survive on less, not thrive on less. Sleep deprivation tricks the brain into a new baseline of fatigue, one that feels normal, even as performance quietly declines. In other words, the mind gets used to feeling awful and starts calling it fine. And that illusion, the belief that we've outsmarted biology, is what keeps experiments like Michael's going. What research says about polyphasic sleep and why it rarely works long-term. Despite the hype online, polyphasic sleep has never been scientifically proven to be sustainable or healthy in the long run. It's been studied in astronauts, sailors, and soldiers, people who must sleep irregularly due to extreme conditions, but even in those cases, researchers treat it as a temporary survival strategy, not a lifestyle. What studies actually show? A handful of small studies have looked at polyphasic patterns. They show that, yes, the body can adjust to frequent naps, people can stay awake and alert for short bursts. But over time, even the most disciplined subjects show declines in reaction time and memory, mood instability and irritability, suppressed immune function, increased stress hormones like cortisol. In one European Navy study, sailors on polyphasic schedules performed well for a few weeks, but as soon as the mission ended, nearly everyone reverted to normal sleep, describing the pattern as unsustainable. And that's the key. It works until it doesn't. The illusion of extra time. At first glance, sleeping 4 hours a night gives you 20 hours of wakefulness, a massive gain. But over months, productivity tends to collapse. Reaction time slow. Creativity fades. Mistakes multiply. The extra time you gain becomes filled with lower-quality work and a fog that creeps into every thought. Researchers call this the cognitive debt of sleep deprivation, a debt you can postpone but never erase. Like a credit card, the longer you avoid payment, the higher the interest. Why it persists? So why do people still try it? Because for a few weeks, it feels amazing. You're awake when others sleep. You feel special, disciplined, even enlightened. It's a kind of psychological high, reinforced by productivity culture and the myth of the tireless genius. Michael was no different. He believed he'd hacked the system. But biology doesn't negotiate. And after nearly 2 decades of defying it, the system began to fight back. The downfall. What happened after 20 years? For nearly 2 decades, Michael's story remained one of triumph. He continued to post online updates, give interviews, and inspire a quiet cult of followers who wanted to emulate his discipline. But somewhere along the way, the tone of his writing changed. The confident declarations became shorter. The posts appeared less often. He began to mention fatigue, mood swings, and a strange, constant tension in his head. His once meticulous logs were replaced by sporadic entries that trailed off mid-sentence. Then came the admission no one expected. "I think I've hit a wall," he wrote in one of his final blog posts. "I can't focus the way I used to. I feel slower. My motivation's slipping. It's like my brain's trying to catch up on years it lost." He confessed that his concentration was fading, his short-term memory felt unreliable, and his creativity, once his proudest asset, had dulled. Doctors found nothing immediately wrong, but his blood pressure was rising, his immune system seemed weakened, and his sleep cycles were chaotic. Eventually, he abandoned the experiment. After 20 years of sleeping in fragments, he returned to a conventional 7-hour nightly rest. The rebound. The transition wasn't easy. For weeks, he suffered from intense dreams and overwhelming fatigue, as if his body were reclaiming every hour of sleep it had been denied. He described it as a fog lifting and crashing at the same time. But slowly, something remarkable happened. His clarity returned. He felt emotions more vividly. Colors seemed brighter, music deeper, and his work, though produced in fewer hours, regained its spark. In a rare interview years later, Michael reflected, "For a long time, I thought I was beating nature. But the truth is, I was just borrowing time I couldn't afford to lose." The story, which began as an experiment in optimization, ended as a quiet lesson in humility. He hadn't discovered a shortcut, only a limit. Michael's story isn't really about sleep. It's about the modern obsession with optimization, the belief that every hour can be hacked, stretched, and conquered. But biology doesn't work like code. It isn't something you can simply rewrite. Science tells us that sleep is not lost time, it's active time. During those quiet hours, your brain repairs itself, consolidates memories, strengthens the immune system, and even clears out harmful toxins that build up while you're awake. Skip sleep and you're not gaining hours, you're trading away focus, creativity, and long-term health. In other words, sleep is the foundation productivity stands on, not the enemy of it. What Michael's journey reveals. His 2-decade experiment shows both the power and the peril of human adaptability. Yes, we can survive with less sleep. But survival isn't success. We often mistake functioning for thriving, the same way someone living on junk food might feel fine until their body quietly starts breaking down. And perhaps the most dangerous illusion of all is that you'll know when it's hurting you. Sleep deprivation doesn't feel like pain, it feels like efficiency. By the time you notice the cost, the damage has already begun. The real sleep hack. Ironically, the most effective way to hack your sleep isn't to cut it short, it's to respect it. Good sleep hygiene, consistent bedtime, less screen light at night, cooler temperatures, less caffeine, and real downtime can unlock far more productivity than any extreme experiment. 7 or 8 hours of high-quality sleep will always beat 4 hours of broken rest and caffeine-fueled willpower. As one researcher put it, sleep isn't a luxury. It's a biological negotiation you can't win by cheating. Michael learned that the hard way. The rest of us don't have to.
If Michael's 20-year experiment taught us anything, it's that the goal shouldn't be to sleep less, but to sleep better. Here's what science and centuries of human experience suggest for anyone who wants more energy, focus, and time without sacrificing health. Brain 1. Respect your sleep cycles. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of total sleep per night. Your brain operates on 90-minute cycles of deep and REM sleep. Waking up at the end of a cycle, rather than in the middle, can make you feel far more rested. Apps and wearables can help, but even a consistent bedtime works wonders. Crescent Moon 2. Consistency beats quantity hacks. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day stabilizes your circadian rhythm, the body's internal clock. That rhythm regulates not just sleep, but hormones, appetite, mood, and cognitive sharpness. Shift it too often, and you'll feel jet-lagged even at home. Lightbulb 3. If you nap, nap smart. A short 20 to 30-minute nap early in the afternoon can boost alertness and creativity. NASA and Harvard studies back this up. But longer naps or late ones can interfere with nighttime sleep. Think of naps as a supplement, not a substitute. Puzzle piece 4. Optimize, don't overload. True productivity isn't about more hours, it's about better use of them. Research shows that creativity and focus naturally dip when we push past fatigue. In many cases, sleeping more actually saves time by making your working hours sharper and shorter. Person in lotus position 5. Listen to your body, not to myths. If a guru claims you can thrive on 4 hours of sleep, remember, Biology doesn't care about motivation or mindset. Sleep needs vary slightly between individuals, but chronic deprivation always takes a toll, sometimes invisible, but always real. Expert insight. Dr. Rafael Pelayo, a sleep specialist at Stanford, once said, "When people say they function fine on little sleep, they're comparing themselves to how they felt yesterday, not how good they could actually feel." That's the paradox. We normalize exhaustion until it feels like strength. Sunrise, the final thought. Michael's journey began with a desire for more time, something we all wish we had. But in chasing those extra hours, he discovered that time without energy, focus, or joy isn't really time gained at all. Sleep isn't the enemy of ambition. It's the engine that powers it. The real challenge isn't to sleep less. It's to stop believing you have to. So tonight, when you close your laptop, don't think of sleep as lost productivity. Think of it as your body's most powerful form of maintenance, the quiet miracle that lets you wake up tomorrow ready to build, create, and live fully awake.